Hey, soccer fans, welcome back to the Feed the Fire podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and this is part 2 of our winter holiday 2025 season roundup, where we're talking about all the news that's happened this December around Major League Soccer and the Chicago Fire. In our last episode, we talked about the MLS Super Draft, who the Fire selected, why I still think it holds a lot of value, and of course, it's a uniquely American kind of institution, so I appreciate that from an American soccer standpoint. But we also talked about the Chicago Fire's discussions with Robert Lewandowski to get him to come over and play here in Chicago in MLS after his time at Barcelona is over. So make sure you go back and find part 1 of our winter roundup so you can get in on that conversation. In this conversation, we are talking about in news that had come out recently that MLS is going to go to a new division alignment starting in 2027 for that 2027-2028 season, that new calendar season. So this will not be 26. This will not be the 27 15-week short season. This will be the 2027 to 2028 new calendar shift season. There's been no official announcements from MLS, though there have been a few people with MLS inside information who have talked about this. It's been something that was brought up in the owners' meetings after MLS Cup just this year, 2025. So we're going to talk a little bit about division alignment, and then we'll touch on the Coachella Valley Invitational. Their calendar was just released recently as well. But if you want to continue the conversation, please reach out to me on social media at Glasshouse Soccer or email me at glasshousesoccer@gmail.com. It's been great sending messages and receiving messages from everyone for the holidays. Donnie, Tio, Baz, thank you guys for all reaching out, as well as everyone else who has liked, commented, and interacted with me over the last couple of weeks. It's the best part of the show, getting to meet new soccer fans, getting to meet new Chicago fans, and having conversations about them. I absolutely love it. And I hope everyone else out there had a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah. I hope you're all looking forward to a new year. May it be filled with many new opportunities, wonderful things, and blessings for you and yours. All right, let's get into the soccer talk. The news of division alignment, I think, took a lot of people by surprise. It's something that has always kind of been talked about on the fringes of MLS conversations, but nothing that I had ever heard from official sources or insider information kind of a thing. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of that come out. So what do we know thus far? Again, nothing official, nothing from MLS, no votes, but it seems like this is the direction the league is going to go in a couple of years. So MLS will likely, or is rumored to, however you want to put it, adopt a new 5-division, 30-team structure starting in 2027 as part of a shift to the July to May calendar. The plan features 5 6-team geographic-based divisions. So what are those divisions? That's what everyone cares about. What are the divisions? Who's playing who? How is this going to work? So if we're looking from east to west here, you have one division including Montreal, Toronto, New England, Red Bulls, NYC, and Philly, kind of your traditional Northeast division there. Now you have kind of your Southeast division of DC, Nashville, Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami, and Orlando. You have your Central or Midwestern division of Chicago, Minnesota, St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And again, I'm just giving these names myself. These aren't official names, the division names, or anything like that. Who knows? MLS might come out and say, well, we're going to name the divisions after various players. I hope they don't do that. That would just get confusing, especially for people in the international markets. But we'll see. We'll see. One thing at a time. Now you have your Western Division of the Galaxy, LAFC, San Diego, Austin, Houston, and Dallas. And then you have your Northwest Division, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, San Jose, RSL, Colorado. And again, Northwest and West, again, very loose terms considering the scope of where these teams are located. So there's a couple things that jump out at me with this proposition here. Number one, DC United split from its traditional Northeast rivals. I'm sure they're going to have to play some non-division games, but DC won't have those necessarily baked into their calendar as it appears in this moment. So they lose those traditional rivalries with Philly and Red Bulls there, but they will be in a uh, very rivalry heavy. Maybe they're trying to build a Charlotte rivalry. I don't know. Because you have Nashville and Atlanta, you have Miami and Orlando, and I think with just the meetings of Nashville and Miami, there's a budding rivalry there, if not already a full rivalry. So I imagine DC Charlotte is going to be kind of the teams that they try to push a bit of a rivalry there. But again, I'm sure they'll end up playing their former traditional rivals over the course of the season. Similarly, San Jose out west is split from its biggest rival, the Galaxy, as well as its other uh, California rival, LAFC. So you lose the original MLS derby in that kind of sense, that San Jose and the Galaxy are not in the same division again. But again, I'm sure in order to make up the calendar, they're gonna play each other at least once a year, though it was nice having a home and home fixture every season and then a playoff matchup, especially early on in MLS, to watch those teams go at it. But I don't think that the league wanted to split these rivalries. I don't think they intentionally wanted to divide these out. I think that they had bigger goals in mind, and the only way for them to achieve those bigger goals was to have this split. Again, you know how large the United States is, geographically speaking. You know how spread out this league is. The Miami to Vancouver flight was the longest away trip in all of North American professional sports. And as far as I know, the longest away trip in just about all all the world's professional sports. I think that's something like maybe they said a club who would play in like Portugal or England or Scotland having to fly to Turkey to play some sort of UEFA match. But even then, I don't think that was as long as Miami to Vancouver. So one of the goals that I have just hinted at would be to decrease the travel. So you're going to have more games within your division, more and maybe like in NFL, you're going to see division matchups where like this season, the Bears they're in the NFC North. They play every team in the North twice. They play most of the teams in I don't know NFL scheduling, but this is just from my observations of being a fan. They play all the teams in the NFC or most of the teams in the NFC once, and then they get matched up with another division in the AFC in the other conference. So every NFC team is going to play every AFC team, from a corresponding division. So the Bears this year are playing the AFC North, I think. Is that what they call them? Buffalo, not Buffalo. Uh, I wanted to say the Browns. So Cincinnati, Cleveland, Baltimore. Um, why can't I think of the other team at this point? Anyway, but the Bears will play everyone in there. The Packers will play everyone in there. Detroit will play everyone in there. So it gives a little bit of a parity and helps in a tiebreaker when they have to go to head to head. I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make. So not eloquently right now, the day after Christmas, just wanting to get this up and recorded for you all in the morning while the kids and the wife are still sleeping off all of their sugar high and late night game playing. It's decreasing travel and it's bringing a little bit more equality into the schedule. A little, yeah, I'll say equality. I don't know if I can call it parity at this point, but it will bring a little bit more equality to the schedule. As far as the parity and equality argument goes, the single table format is also going to give some more parity and equality as well. And we've talked about on this show about how there's so many instances of an MLS team playing an opponent and then within the same month having to play them again, or playing them in March and then not seeing them again until October, which to me does not seem equal or fair or in any sort of semblance of a parity, that you're having these teams who are two wildly different teams at different points of the season. And you know what, I get that is going to happen, just natural development, injuries, call up signings. But when you have two teams who have no interaction for the length of the season, or your only meetings are within a 2 or 3 week period, to me that doesn't give enough of an equality across the table, and it doesn't value games as equally across the course of the season or like a single table would. So I think that's part of what they're trying to get to, and we already saw that with the announcement of going to this fall to spring calendar, this July to May calendar, if you will, that they're going to try to change some of the scheduling around so that the cold weather city clubs are going to be playing their winter games in some of the southern warmer weather cities, or some of the coastal cities, if you will, and maybe with that scheduling they can say, okay, we're not going to have New York play Miami in New York in July, and then have them wait all the way until May to play in Miami or something like that. Maybe they can find kind of some sort of even scheduling. I've always said I'm a big proponent of how the Bundesliga does it, where they play their first half of the games of the season and then just repeat that calendar. Now, of course, with the weather and the geography differences, that might not be a one-to-one comparison. We might not be able to do that exactly in the United States, but to me that should be the goal. If you really are going to go to the single table, if you really want more parity and equity, if you really are trying to cut down on some of this travel, then that is kind of the goal you should be looking at, or an example to be looking at. Some of the other benefits of making this change, this divisional realignment, they're going to now be able to change the playoff format. They have to change the playoff format because you're going to a single table, because you're going to divisions. You have to change how the playoffs are formatted. Everything's been based on Eastern and Western conferences to this point. So I think you're going to see teams putting a little, the league has always wanted teams to put more emphasis on the regular season. That's why tiebreakers have always been a number of wins prior to goal differentials. That's why you had these conferences, because they wanted them competing with their conference opponents for wins to move up the playoff standings. But now you have to change this playoff format if you are going to go to divisional realignment and potentially single table here. So you're going to probably see the five division leaders make it, and then have the next best 7 teams with a couple of buys for the top 2 teams, something like that, and then you'll see it run out from there, or maybe you'll see the top 14 teams get put into some sort of a ranked bracket, top 16 teams, whatever it is. My math is a little off this morning, as you can imagine. You can kind of hear it in my voice a little bit here. But they do have a lot of options now if they're operating off of a divisional type of alignment, or eventually into some sort of single table type of alignment. Now, I don't think you can ever get to a true single table because of the geography, the travel, the weather, all that sort of thing. But it is something that the league will have to consider, and I think rightly so. And I think the fans are going to enjoy that. I think the playoff format, as far as a knockout round, is acceptable and everybody likes it. But where we have problems with the current playoff schedule is, one, the best of 3 series. Now, that was, to me, a band-aid. It was never going to be a long-term fix. It was a way to try to get the number 1 seeds to advance by giving them the opportunity to play the bottom seed over the course of a series, which they should bear out and win that with the extra data points, right? With the extra opportunities. Also, it was a way to give Apple TV more content and more games to broadcast and make that package a little bit more valuable. But now you can actually consider going to a home and home system, or a single game elimination system. The other thing I think this does for the playoffs is, hopefully you can decrease the overall number of teams, again putting more of a premium on the regular season. Now, that does go against wanting to have more games to broadcast. However, I think one of the biggest criticisms of the current MLS playoff format is that too many teams get in. You have your top 7 teams of each conference currently getting in. So you have 14 of your 30 teams, almost half of your teams, making the playoffs, and then you have another 2 teams in each conference in a play-in game. So you have depending on your opinion of playing games are the playoffs, you have 18 teams in the postseason. 18, you have over 50% of your teams, 18 of 30 in the postseason. So with a divisional realignment, they're going to have to readdress this and maybe put a bit more of a premium on these regular season games. Now, yeah, you want to have more stuff for Apple to broadcast. Well, here's the thing. First of all, I think you got to create more content. The only content we're getting at this point from MLS Season Pass is the games on the weekend, and then maybe some random documentaries and shows, and obviously the life and times of Leo Messi and MLS, all of that content. You're not getting regular programming throughout the week. You're not getting that team specific content that we used to see. So I think that is a huge hole they can fill. Now, of course, it costs money to bring in content creators, to bring in TV teams, production teams, all that sort of thing. But I think you can do it for a very cost-effective methods now, especially with all the technology that's out there. And I'm not saying to bring in AI. That's not what I'm saying. But you can do that. You can get local podcasters and content creators who have really been driving the coverage and conversation of Major League Soccer teams for a long time. You can bring them on board. Like, it's been great to see a guy like Alex Calabrese, who started off as a huge Fire fan, and not that I'm trying to tell his story by any means, but started off as a huge Fire fan, soccer fan, goes into journalism, studies it at Syracuse University, helps found Men in Red 97, and then now is contributing to MLSsoccer.com. Like, people like that you can bring into the fold. Like, you saw guys like the Cooligans, who were comedians focused on soccer, who are now on Golasso, who are on NBC. So I think that's an NBC show, CBS, I forget exactly. But you can start to do that and bring those guys in, and bring these content creators in, and really bolster the amount of content you have, or straight just go professional, hire professionals. Like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to get on MLS Season Pass and be producing content for Apple or something like that. But I'm just a podcaster, attorney, claims adjuster by day, podcaster for the not for the Chicago Fire, but podcaster on the Chicago Fire by night, right? But this is a way you can fill it easily without saying, well, we need to just play more games. We need a really long and messy playoff system just to provide content for everybody. Anyway, that's me just trying to provide answers to questions that nobody asked me. All right. What else, though, about this divisional alignment? One of the other benefits that I see about going to this geographic-based alignment is actual kickoff times. This has been a back-and-forth conversation and a point of criticism over the last few years with the Apple TV deal, where, if you remember, we would have two kickoff times. Half the league would start at like 3:30 or 5:30, and then the other half of the league would start at like 7:30 or 9:30, depending on were you East Coast or West Coast. That was about it. Maybe you'd get a little variance for if you were kicking off in Chicago or Minnesota or Kansas City or something like that. But it was really, you could only watch one full game live, maybe two, maybe three, depending on your calendar and your schedule. And for us fans who would go to games, you want to get to, like, for me, going to a Chicago Fire game, say it kicked off at 7:30, I'd want to get there by about 5, tailgate for a little bit, see some of the other fans and supporters, go inside the stadium, walk around the concourse, engage with all the entertainment that they have, maybe go do a little shopping, maybe go get something to eat, hang out in the season ticket members lounge a bit, and then go sit down for all the pre-game show festivities, national anthem, fireworks, all that stuff. So I would be missing all of that time. And then I'm in the stadium. I'm not going to be on my phone. I try not to be on my phone much during games. And then the drive home. And most of these games aren't available on local radio. So I would have, a 5 to 6 hour block just to go enjoy a live Chicago Fire game. And I'm not complaining about that, but I'd have no way to watch any other games that Saturday. I'd have to go recap them, and talk to these other content creators and follow along on social media for them to really get the breakdown of it. So they finally changed the kickoff times, where we started to see some staggered kickoff times in this past season. Sunday Night Soccer, which was great, because then you have kind of a featured content piece, getting back to being able to fill the airwaves, to fill the whole of content. that was great. You saw a couple of games kicking off on Saturdays at like 12:30, 1:30. You saw most of the games, maybe one or two at 3:30, most of the games 5:30, 7:30, 9:30. And again, I'm talking Central Time here. Obviously on the West Coast a little different, East Coast a little different. And then you had two or three games on Sunday. So I could consume a lot more Major League Soccer and be more in tune with the rest of the league and what's going on than previously. And so I think with this geographical alignment, they can take the next step in that and say, okay, we're going to have like a kickoff time for each of these divisions. And yes, some of the two more Western divisions and the two more Eastern divisions will have a lot of overlap. But you could have a a three. I'm thinking from a central time zone perspective here. Like a 3:30, a 6:30, and a 9:30 kickoff times for these divisions, and really get to watch a lot of what's going around in the league. And if you continue the Sunday night soccer angle and having two or three games on Sunday, you can even break it down a little bit more. We know that there are midweek games that take place, but with this coming into 2027-28 season, supposedly, I think we can start to get rid of some of those midweek games, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like driving into the city in the middle of the week, cutting my workday short, or having to wake up early the next morning and go back to work after a night out at a fire match. You think my voice is bad now, think of it then. But I think you are going to be able to kind of get rid of some of these midweek games, save those specifically for Open Cup or other tournament play, maybe save some of your legs a little bit. That way you don't have the random scheduling of, oh, well, Miami advanced further in this tournament and another team advanced further in that tournament, so we're going to have to give their opponents a bye week so they can go play that tournament game and get some rest. And you're not making those kind of decisions. So I think it'll help for scheduling as well as TV format. So that is to me where the league wants to go, address some of these large concerns that they have and that fans have expressed over, the last couple of seasons here more specifically. I haven't seen anything about how this is going to work out from a scheduling perspective. My assumption is that you're going to play every team in your division at least twice, if not three times, giving you 8 or 12 games. And then how do you add the other 20 or 24 matches? You're going to end up having to play the rest of your schedule there. So I don't know how they're going to do that, because you're still not going to play every team in Major League Soccer under this format, right? I think the closest you get is you play every team in your division once or twice, so that's 8 games. That leaves another 24 teams for you to play against, and so 8 plus 24 would be 32. And so that might be the only way to do it. I was assuming they were going to stick with a 34 game schedule. Maybe they drop down to a 32 game schedule, so you do have that. You play everybody once, you play everyone in your division twice, and then from there you can look at the table and say, okay, the division winners will move into the playoffs automatically, and the next however many number of teams in the table will also make the postseason. So that may be the simplest way to do it, and therefore the best way to do it. But we'll see what MLS comes up with, and again, how they want to fill their broadcast schedule with it. Now, the other thing is, what does this lead to even further down the road? Is this the end goal, or is this just a big step towards another end goal? Because there are ways to address travel and scheduling and kickoff times and content creation and all that sort of thing without completely realigning Major League Soccer. First of all, I think this is a movement towards trying to emulate the international leagues. They want to be more European in some of these things. Now the league has came out and said we want to keep some American traits. We're still the top league in America and Canada, and we want to keep some of the things that make us unique, just like every league should. But they realize in order to grow and to be seen as a global power of a league, and it's funny, I saw some tweet out there that said MLS is like the 6th most watched league in the world. I don't know if I agree with those numbers. Again, they've been a little shy about releasing viewership. But still, it is a league that is still growing in popularity domestically and abroad. So by aligning with more of what's in the soccer mentality, they can even increase their viewership and their influence further. So I think that's part of it. But also, this could be, and this is total speculation here, this could be the start of MLS trying to get to a multi level system with promotion and relegation. You're taking your large league of an Eastern and Western Conference, and yes, bringing in them to a bit of a single table, kind of a single table format, but also having divisions in there. So that sets up the ability to have more. You almost have to put it together to break it back apart. You're going to put all these 30 teams together and then break it down into a 20 team MLS Division 1 and then a 20 team MLS Division 2. And I know there's only 30 MLS teams right now, and the franchise dollars are vital to MLS at this point, that investment and that growth. So, there's room for 10 more teams, or and this is something that has been just kind of on the fringes of all American soccer discussions. Who knows, maybe this is the precursor to the old NFL AFL merger. It's the MLS USL merger, with USL implementing Pro Rel and seeking top tier Division 1 status within the United States soccer environment. Now we have two Division 1, say this goes through. Now we have two Division 1 leagues, MLS and USL, and the USL, as of this 2025 season, has 24 teams in two different conferences. So you take the 24 teams from USL, you take the 30 teams from MLS, you have 54 teams. You go to even three now, top tier American soccer league divisions, right? You have an American Premier League. We'll just use that phrase. You have an American Premier League now with three tiers of 18 teams each, and you're there by the year 2035 or 2040 or something like that. Holy cow, that sounds so far away. That sounds like, to me, who was born in 1984, like, to me that sounds like flying cars and space, domestic space travel, and we're having trade with alien civilizations and things, teleporters and all of that. That doesn't, the big advancement is Pro Rel in the United States by that time, isn't that? That's a funny comparison, right? But again, this could be the longest term goal, not the medium, not the long, but the longest term goal is by reshaping and restructuring the soccer landscape in Major League Soccer starting in 2027, giving the fan base, giving the league, the clubs, the players the time to adjust and adapt to that, for about another 8 to 10 years, and then having USL get D1 status, have their clubs all start building up their infrastructures, because if you want to be a successful soccer club and soccer organization, it can't be just let's rent a local stadium with 5,000 seats and put together a first team. You're going to need to run a professional organization with academies and training facilities, and preferably your own stadium or something that you have significant control over, a fan base, payroll, roster, all these things, huge just organizational infrastructure, the business side of things. So giving these USL clubs a few more years to ramp that up and see who their investors are going to be and who their top clubs are going to be, and then boom, you have some sort of either draw or tournament or seeding tournament where you can then set up this new 3-tier American Premier League by the year 2040. I kind of was just riffing there. I had no notes on any of that. I just, my note was this divisional realignment could pave the way for Pro Rel. That was it. And I just kind of started going down a path. And holy cow, did I come out at some wild end of some wild journey there. Like, I hadn't even thought about that. Could you imagine that, though? Having a 3-tiered domestic American soccer system with like an American Premier League, an American Second Division, an American Third Division, all pro by the year 20, 40, 15 more years. USL clubs, start investing. MLS clubs, keep it going. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. I think I've convinced myself that that's what I want to see in the next 15 years. And then the United States can finally win a World Cup in, 2048 or whatever year it'll be. If they don't do it this summer. Which, by the way, happy to say I heard the Chris Richards injury wasn't severe. It was just a bad cut on his foot after getting stomped on, which required some stitches. I haven't heard anything else about it, so hopefully that's all it is, and that he's fully recovered and fit to go for the U.S. this summer. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the Coachella Valley Invitational. We've been talking about future seasons. Let's talk about this season, this upcoming preseason. The Coachella Valley Invitational, the biggest preseason tournament for Major League Soccer and the National Women's Soccer League, taking place out in California. So there are 12 Major League Soccer clubs participating and 9 NWSL clubs participating. We're going to stick with the MLS clubs. That's what we cover here. No disrespect to the NWSL. But the 12 MLS clubs are Austin, Charlotte, DC, Chicago. Both teams from LA, Minnesota, New York City, Portland, San Jose, Kansas City, and St. Louis. So you're gonna get some nice rivalry matchups even in the preseason there. And the tournament starts Saturday, February 7th. For Major League Soccer and runs through February 14th. And then the NWSL portion of that tournament picks up on February 15th and runs through the 21st. As far as the Chicago Fire schedule goes, they kick off against the Galaxy on Sunday, February 8th. Then on Wednesday, the 11th, they take on Austin FC. And then on February 14th, they play the Portland Timbers. So nice to see some cross-conference games here, clubs that you're not going to see during the course of the regular season. I think that's deliberate. You don't want to have preseason games against teams you're going to play. You don't want to tip your hand. You don't want to give them any incentive to go out and try and knock around some of your guys. You don't want to get too familiar with them. So I do like that they're playing these cross-conference games, and I don't think that the Fire have any of these teams on their schedule. Maybe Portland is on their schedule this year. And now that I'm looking at the rest of the schedule for it, it does appear to be, I don't know, there's some Western Conference matchups. You're seeing Minnesota play KC, St. Louis play Austin. Let's see if there's any other. LA plays St. Louis, San Jose, Portland. So you do see some interconference or intraconference matchups here, but I do like this schedule for the Fire. You're playing a Galaxy team who's trying to get back into trophy contention. You're playing an Austin team who is trying to recover from a bad season last year, and you're playing a Portland team who's trying to take a playoff appearance and turn it into something even more. So these guys have a lot to play for. The other thing that's interesting about this tournament setup is you have, for the Fire, 3 games in 6 days. So again, on the 8th, the 11th, and the 14th. So they're going to be bringing they're going to bring their whole roster. They're going to bring probably some CF2 guys to train with them, and you're going to see heavily rotated squads. These aren't going to be, it might be game speed, MLS game speed, but it's not going to be MLS game tackles and intensity. Hopefully nobody's not trying to do anything like that in the preseason. There's going to be guys fighting for the roster spots, right? I don't want to downplay this at all. This is your warm-up. You don't want to go into your home opener or your season opener saying, okay, let's warm things up a bit. No, you got to go from the moment that whistle blows saying everything counts from here on out. We need to go hard and take points, score goals, win games. But hopefully no one's out there trying to bust anyone's ankles in the Coachella Valley Invitational. But that is what's going on for the Fire preseason. Passes are available. Just out of curiosity, let me go ahead and click and see what the price is going to be for these things. Let me see if I can find it quickly here while we're clicking around, and then we'll go take a look at some of the other quick transfer news from around the league. Actually, we're gonna hold off on that. We'll save that for the next one. There's a couple coaching updates, and then just tons of transfer talk that's gone out. Okay, so a VIP ticket package to the Coachella Valley Invitational is $377. $376 and some change. But what if I just wanted general admission for it? $43. Okay. 8 ticket max. So not terrible, but for someone like me in Chicago, that would have to include airfare and lodging. So could be a bit pricey if you wanted to go out and check it out. What are the other ticket types? Standard, accessible, VIP, resale. All right. That is what's going on with Coachella. The one last thing I wanted to end on, MLS soccer writer Joseph Lowry put out his holiday wish list, what every MLS team needs this winter. Not exactly a piece about what incoming transfers he'd like to see, because we see for, say for Atlanta United, he wants to see the DPs actually play at their level. For Charlotte, he wants to see Wilfried Zaha play up to his potential level. He wants to see LAFC be better in possession. So again, it's not necessarily transfer talk. But what did he say about the Chicago? What is his wish for Chicago this offseason? What does he want to see happen with some holiday magic that has the Fire ready for the 2026 season? He says he wants to see Jonathan Bamba to step up. And he writes, while Bamba was the highest profile addition of the Fire's 2025 offseason, he only posted 9 non-penalty goal contributions in the regular season. With Gutierrez now gone to Chivas, Berhalter's side will need more out of Bamba to help fill the production hole in the final third. We saw Bamba come in at the beginning of last season and get off to a great start. Goals, assists, always a threat to the defense, fast, tailed off a little bit during the course of the season. Now, is that just him playing that weird coming from Europe straight to MLS, no off-season break, moving to a new country, adapting to a new team, kind of getting a little tired, tail off kind of thing? Possibly. So with a full off-season now for Joe Bamba, we need to see him get back on the score sheet a lot more. Zinkernagel, I don't think, is going to be able to repeat his 30-goal contribution season. I think opposing defenses are going to be a little bit better against him, just having a whole season of him on tape now. Plus, it's just hard to maintain that kind of pass season over season. Hey, maybe he does it. I hope he does it. If there's any player who can do it, it's Philip Zinkernagel. But just looking statistically here, he's probably going to regress a little bit. Hugo Kuipers, is he going to regress a little bit? I don't know, maybe, because he was top 10 in goals scored on the league last season. I think he can continue to do that if he keeps up in the system with the kind of service that he was getting. Joseph Lowry points out correctly, Gutierrez and his 15 goal contributions are gone. So that gap in scoring is going to have to come somewhere. Now, the Fire are trying to improve their defense, so maybe won't need to score as much as they did last season just to make the play-in game. But if you want to get into a top 6 spot in the Eastern Conference, you're going to need to score at that same rate. And also prevent goals from being scored, shore up your defense a bit. So yes, Bamba, hopefully he gets his legs under him. He comes back well rested. Even when he wasn't scoring, he was still a vital piece to the Chicago Fire as an outlet for the defense and someone that the opposing defense always had to keep an eye on. He was able, even without scoring, to keep opposing outside backs from pushing too far up the field and getting involved in their own attack. He always kept them honest. So I like what Lowry's saying here, other than, all the potential transfer pieces that the Fire could get to fill some of the needs they have. I really do like this comment from him. Let's get Bamba back to that top tier level. Let's make him an all-star this year. And if you can have, 3 potential all-stars in Bamba, Zinkernagel, Kuipers, and improving your defense, this is going to be a real good Chicago Fire team in 2026. All right, with that, I will let you all get back to your end-of-year routine, your holiday celebrations. As always, please make sure you like, subscribe, rate, review, follow the show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends, tell your families, hey, this guy's talking Chicago Fire. We're talking MLS here. We're having real fan talk here. Let them know. Let's continue to grow the show and the conversation. And as always, Happy New Year. Let's go Fire.